Hello, hello, world. I am, of course, getting us open here so people can make their way on in, come on into the space, um, drop any hellos and all that kind of fun stuff that you desire. Always give everybody a few minutes to jump in, make sure all the technologies are working, which it appears that they are. So, all right. It is right on 2 o'clock, I believe. I could be making that up. Yes, right on 2 o'clock. So I'm going to jump right in and introduce all the things so we can get started. So my name is Jackie Jones. The Jackie Jones The Jackie Jones as I added to my little nameplate there. I am the community engagement manager for Create Birmingham. I'm also CEO of 1 Degree Marketing. And where you are right now, what you are part of is what's called our community conversations. And our community conversations are basically a way for us to have conversations with people in our community who are usually small business owners or in somewhere related to the economic impact that small businesses, creative industry have on our city, our world, essentially. And so this is just a space for us to have a conversation about different topics, ask questions, share information, and get to know people. And so I am your host, so to speak. And today we will have the beautiful and wonderful Miss Kim Lee. Hi, Kim.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad to have you because I love you in real life. So just so everybody's clear, I love Kim in real life. And so I'm always grateful for any time we get to spend together. But thank you for coming and spending time with us today. So if you would please introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah. So like Jackie said, my name is Kim Lee. I am the founder and CEO of Forge. We are a co-working space located in the Pizitz building above the food hall. So if you're from Birmingham and you've eaten in the Pizitz food hall and wondered what was behind all that glass up there, that's us. We're a co-working space business. We're a membership-based business. So you have a membership to Forge and you have the opportunity to work in our there's an open workspace membership, which is just a full-time co-working memberships. We have dedicated desks, we have private offices, and we also have conference rooms that are available for our members at special prices, and then just anybody in the community. So we will get to this later on, but we are very socially distant. So if you have found yourself at the end of your rope for working at home, we definitely have safe places for you to work, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yes, we will, because you are literally in the business of giving people space, and space is such an awkward thing in 2020.
Yeah.
You take up space, how you use space, what you touch, what spaces you go to, what spaces you don't, how you act in those spaces. And so it's been a very interesting just thing about space in general, right? It's just it's weird. 2020 is really weird. But I do want to, before we get into pandemic life and space and all the adjustments, I do just want to give us an idea, because you are in the business of working with small business owners and entrepreneurs. What do you feel like are some of the common denominators of people who come to Forge to co-work, who are entrepreneurs, small business owners, or even small offices? Any common denominators that you just see in people who seek out co-working space?
Yeah. So I think most of the people who come to Forge they've tried it as long as they can at home, or they've been like in an office that's isolated and alone, and they are just ready for something better for their business. Like they know, and different people have different desires, but they know they need to get out of their house. They need to be around other people. They need somewhere where they can come and just like focus. And I used to say this and people would just sort of smile and nod, but now everybody knows. But to be able to work from home is a nice perk, like to have the opportunity and the flexibility, but to have to work from home all the time, as we all know, is not super great.
Yeah, but a little hard. My problem was I vacuumed too much. And I just couldn't focus. So
Yeah. So I think, I mean, that's the main thing that people are just like ready to have something different, whether it's just to be more productive, to take their business to the next level, because having somewhere that you physically go and are paying money for, like, you just automatically, you're going to push yourself more because you're going to make your time and your money worth it. And so what usually happens is people start shifting the way they work and maybe have more freedom at home, or go there to get certain aspects of their job done. Another huge benefit is the people that you meet and the networks that you form. And as Jackie has experienced, like, we have so many of our members who have started new things together or have collaborated on projects. And so I think that a lot of people actually do come for that aspect. Like, they may even be like, I'm okay at home, but I just really need to expand my network. So those are two of the big things that people
Yeah.
are really looking for.
And people need people. I think, especially as a business owner or an entrepreneur, and especially with creatives, a lot of times we get so caught up in the single thing that we are doing, and we live in our little bubble. And when we do raise our head, we realize, oh no, I'm missing pieces of my network, or I missed a class or a lunch and learn or an opportunity. And so it's definitely great to have community around you, which I know you all have been super focused on creating. So talk us through kind of how you decided you would build the community of Forge. And again, this is pre 2020. We're going to talk about how that has changed. But what went into just your thoughts about how you would make and create community within your space with people working for themselves and other companies, and they're not even coworkers. So how do you build community in that way?
Well, so my story to get to opening coworking is kind of different. I have an undergrad in business and a master's in counseling.
That explains so much.
Well, I'm not a counselor. I never got my license. I did not drop out. I did graduate, but just worked out. I actually went to a job in business and discovered, okay, I really do love business and hospitality, business as a service. And also just like core to who we are. Like, I love hospitality. I love community, creating community. The idea that Forge could like help with the economic growth of our city. It could help job growth. It could support and grow small businesses. I really love that it's an entry point that's very low for people who really want to take their business to the next level but don't have those natural resources. And so it's a great way for entrepreneurs, new business owners, to be able to make their mark and be professional, and enter into the ecosystem. Yeah, professional. So that's sort of really what was like, okay, I learned about coworking, and that's kind of was like, okay, I do want to move forward with this. And then, from day one, after I like actually committed, I just really just tried to talk to as many people as I could, like called, emailed, please connect me, met with as many people as I could. And a lot of it was for business advice. Is this a good idea? Is the time right? Is it not? But a lot of people on my list were people who I thought would be my target market. Whether or not they ever wanted to be in a co-working space, it was like, you are who I think would be in a co-working space, on paper. So I just want to talk to you about this and just help me think through it, why you wouldn't join, any of that. And so just through that, and went through that process. And then after we signed the lease, started doing it, but bringing people in and getting people to commit to be founding members. And so just started to build that community from the very beginning. And, we were always very intentional about not just this being a place where you come, but where we are going to try to connect that community. And at a lot of our events at the beginning, I mean, there would be one or two people. And I was like, you know what? People still know it's here, and eventually they'll come in. And we found things that work. We found things that don't work. But I think, our desire and our goal is that when people walk into Forge, that they like feel known and that they feel valued. And most of the people who are members of Forge have been working in isolation. And so just for encouragement and to build them up, like, you're not alone, we're in it with you, you know? And so just creating that kind of environment, and naturally through that, community, I think, happens.
You're
so
like the Cheers of entrepreneurship. It's like where everybody knows.
Everybody knows your name. Kelsey knows everybody's name.
No, yeah, Kelsey knows everybody's name.
And now Caitlin is learning. So yes.
Kelsey knows everybody's name. And so you hit on a lot of things that are, I think, really important for any entrepreneur, small business owner to hear, which is about the trial and error of, building a community around what you're doing, building kind of a sense of empowering or belonging. Because I think that the part of community a lot of people don't really talk about sometimes is that eventually the community should belong to the community, right? It shouldn't always just be, look, I made a space for you and now go do this, go do this, go do this. But at some point you want them to begin to like do it themselves, create things for themselves, interact for themselves.
Right.
So I think that trial and error is something that every entrepreneur should at least be going through or considering, that it's not going to work every single time. Sometimes it's going to be great. Sometimes it's not. But so what kind of events were you doing before 2020 came?
Oh, we were doing a lot. So we, the first thing, like thinking about community building, we always tried to once a month have a new member lunch. So anybody who joined in that month, we would have a lunch for them. And we would also invite a few other members so that they would meet other people and not feel alone in the space. If they saw, they could say hi to somebody and know their name. And then we started inviting members to join us because we didn't want people to feel like, oh, well, they're the old members and I'm new. So we wanted to intentionally just get people to know each other in a smaller environment so that they could at least have some familiarity and know people. So that's one thing we always did. We always try to have at least 2 or 3 lunch and learns a month. And those lunch and learns are not just for our members. We open it up for anybody in Birmingham to attend, because one of the things that we love is that we get to be a part of the small business and entrepreneurial ecosystem. And so by opening it up to everybody to attend, it just is a way that we can give back and really help grow that ecosystem. Because I know that as a small business owner, a new entrepreneur, you don't have the resources to go and get training, attend classes, or time or money to do all of these things. And so we want to provide like good content, local content with local people that you can connect with, and, get knowledge that you can walk away with and apply to your business just to really help people grow. So that's one thing we do really consistently. We also just try to do a couple things throughout the month just for our members, whether it's a happy hour, a lunch.
Happy hour.
Woo! We were thinking we do have a members happy hour coming up. So we're going
to talk about that. So you just hold that, because I don't know if anyone else is listening to Kim in the current state of our world in pandemic and going, all those people.
It will be limited. It will be numbers.
But just thinking about how different life is to just 6 months ago. There were lunch and learns in February. And I think there was one in March even.
Well, we had a huge International Women's Day event, and I was telling somebody about it. And I was like, yeah, it was in January. And then I started thinking, I was like, oh, that was the week before nobody came to work. And there was 150 people in that room and nobody thought about it.
Yeah. And so that's why I was just wondering if you all are out there watching and you were listening to, oh, they did a new member lunch, and oh, they did lunch and learns, and oh, there were events. You're like, oh, like you're starting to get these like shivers for all the people breathing in the same space, because, 6 months ago, that was so normal. And now it's just like, I don't know, how many people did you say were going to be there before our RSVP? And so with that in mind, for you to, and I know also things you didn't mention, like other people could book the space. So there could be other people's stuff happening, as well as members walking around, as well as small meetings walking around, visitors, people doing tours, so you have all of these people at one time with no thought of restriction, right?
know.
Oh, the good old days where you didn't think about, how many people are around and whatever. But now let's fast forward and all of this stuff has happened. People are afraid in some spaces. So other people could care less. But as a business owner, it's your responsibility to make a safe space. So tell us about, and I know that there are a lot of people out here who are still needing, especially some of our creatives, who are still needing to do things in person and still wanting to invite people into a space. And I know that that can be a very challenging thought process right now. So tell us a little bit about your journey, and this could be your mental journey first if you want to talk about that, if you want to relive that trauma, but it can be what you were going through as a business owner, but also then eventually how did you all end up putting procedures in place, or how did you get there and what did you end up doing?
Yeah. So we actually expanded on March 15th.
Yeah.
And then March 16th is the day nobody came to work. So
that sucks so bad.
Well, it does, but it allowed us to now, I mean, we took a lot of the seating out, but now we have so much more places for people to sit. So like there really can be more people there. And I mean, it is measured with a measuring tape, so socially distanced. But if we go back to March 16th, I actually wrote some notes because I was like, I don't want to forget anything. But so I mean, March 15th is a Sunday, but so that Friday, Friday is when our school got canceled for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Like it changed from, we're going to do for our school, it was like e-learning for 3 days. And then we're going to have spring break 2 days early. And then like it got changed to just spring break for 3 weeks or whatever. And so at that point it's like, okay, I don't really know what that means. And then Monday, like literally nobody came. I mean, nobody was allowed to go. And Friday, we kind of saw it coming because there was a big conference in Birmingham and companies were coming out saying like, you cannot attend. So we kind of knew it was coming, but we were still in major like, okay, we've just taken on all this new space. We know our goals. Like we know what we have to get to by the end of the year. And so we're still on like Thursday, Friday. I'm still in, we got to make a lot of money. We got a lot. We've got, I mean, we have major revenue to make to get to the end of the year where we want to be. So still in, we got to grow. We need events. But I mean, that Monday, I don't remember how it all played out because it is thankfully kind of a blur. But at some point in that week, my husband and I, like, we didn't go. I can't even remember when we stopped coming to work, but we didn't go. My husband and I came out there. Oh, that Monday, me, Casey, and Kelsey, and Caitlin. There's too many of the same. Thoroughly deep cleaned the whole place from top to bottom, every crevice, everything. So it went from grow to, okay, like totally rethink things. We've got to make this
go to the janitor and like,
instantly. Yeah. At that point, we weren't wearing masks. There has been another time where I have had to clean the entire space by myself, deep clean in a mask. And that was much worse than when we were not wearing masks. So I have so much respect for so many people. But anyways, so we totally deep cleaned and thought through, okay, what do we need to do to make the place safe? So at that point, Caitlin, who was a new hire, she was hired hospitality and events coordinator, which also she has the great gift of details, and she is very like on top of everything. So she created our health and safety standards, very thorough, and like they changed from 1 week to the next week to the next week, and now I mean I think we've landed at a place that everybody agrees is healthy. But and so really just went from we got to grow to, okay, whoop, stop. we're going to make it safe. We're going to make it clean. We moved out half the furniture, measured everything, got all the signs that we needed. And then it was very quickly, and probably at the same time, okay, we got to check in with all of our members, like see how everybody's doing, just sort of touch base with everybody. We ended up, for our open co-working members who couldn't come in, like we changed their memberships to just a virtual membership just to help. And I'm trying to remember. So it was really, okay, let's touch base. And it was like, okay, well, now we need to be able to bring people together, or not bring people together, but we still need connection. After 1 week, it's like, okay, we can do a week. And then it's like, okay, people still need connection. So we just tried to think of ways, and that's not the, so tried to think of ways that we could connect our people and how we could, whether it's, we did questions of the day on Slack, which we got some really funny things through that. We did virtual happy hours. We did trivia, which I lost every time except for the Forge trivia. What else did we do? We did, I can't remember everything, but at the same time, we were also trying to provide very timely, relevant content for our members and for other people. Now there are so many people doing so many like small business things that it's like, okay, whew. So we kind of took a step back from that because there were already so many people doing that, but we were able to provide some really great timely content for small business owners, where everybody was kind of scrambling. So we did that.
Was that stressful? Was that everything you just described? Would you consider that stressful?
Yeah, I guess, it was like,
it's a real question. You're like, is that a real question? It's a real question because I think that sometimes when we see businesses transitioning well, we assume that it's going well, it's fine, and so I just, wonder in hindsight, do you feel like that was, weighing on you? Because some people are still, and even now you are still having to figure a lot of stuff out and try to maneuver and change as the rules change, as the orders come in and out government-wise and that kind of thing. And I think that sometimes because social media allows this beautiful filter of everything is wonderful, I just wonder if it was stressful because
I'm trying to even think back and remember.
Your brain has blocked the memory because it's trauma.
But I do know, but I do know, I was definitely, we weren't going in. So, we receive mail and distribute mail. So we technically were not closed, but we had to totally rethink the way, like Kelsey and Caitlin would go in 3 mornings a week to distribute the mail and clean, because we have a cleaning service that has continued to clean throughout this whole thing, but we also know that other people were coming in there because it was fob access. And so, really it was people in private offices were still going in. So we still needed to keep it safe and clean for the people who were coming in. And one of the things that I did that really helped as far as stress, yes, it was all stressful. And for those first probably 3 to 4 weeks, I was definitely, which was hard because my kids were at home doing e-learning. They are older. They were 8th grade, 6th grade, and 4th grade. Yeah. So especially for the older two, we didn't have to intervene. For the 4th grader, we did a little bit. But their school, my son would finish on Monday after 2 hours for the whole week.
Wow.
So, we put some pretty strict parameters in place because both me and Murray, my husband, were trying to work from home. Anyways, but one of the things that really helped is I do have a business coach that I work with, and so he suggested I do this. I created like a best case scenario, an average okay scenario, and a worst case scenario. So I kind of always knew where, I knew how bad it could get, instead of just like, oh, we're just losing money. We're losing money. We're losing money. I knew how bad it could get and when we could tried to think through when we could expect a return. When people might start coming back or feeling comfortable. So I think that helped reduce just the financial stress and wondering instead of just being like, well, I don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, it was a guess, but it was pretty.
But it gave you something to, because stress usually, you know, is rooted in the stuff you make up. It's like,
Right.
oh, and now I'm going bankrupt. You're like, okay, it's been one day and masks aren't even required. Why are you already at bankruptcy?
Because I would go to bankruptcy.
I would too.
Sure.
A lot of people would, because we always go, our brains go immediately to what is the worst thing that can happen. So I know a lot of people are, you know, like I said, wanting to invite people into a space, have events, things of that nature. What are some of the procedures that you all have put in place in Forge, and how have you communicated those changes?
Well, we've done a lot of communicating. Caitlin did our health and safety standards. It's on our website. We've sent it out to our members. But then she and Kelsey put together some great videos. So we have videos of all the new things. But one of the coolest products that I found, and it's through like being a part of a community of co-working spaces, is like this nanoseptic grip. It's paper. I don't know what it is, but it's on all of our door handles. So like people can feel safe opening and closing doors. It's now on the elevator buttons. So we did that. We have these little we have hand sanitizer everywhere. For a couple weeks, I was literally going to all the grocery stores and Walgreens around me to buy, like, every day, get my 2 from Target, Publix, Winn-Dixie, Costco. I had a friend call me from Costco, be like, they just got hand sanitizer. I'm going to stand here with it till you get here.
That's a good friend.
It was a very good friend. And so just collecting all the things that we need. But we now, like, we have hand sanitizer everywhere. We set up, so when you come in, we now keep track of everybody who's in, so that if somebody does test positive, we can let everybody know who was there within the past few days. But we have these little cards that you pick up when you come in, and it says this workstation's being used. And then when you leave, you flip it over and it says this workstation needs to be cleaned. And so so you know when you go in and sit down at a place, but if it doesn't have a card there, then it's clean and safe to sit. So that I feel like that brings people a lot of comfort knowing, okay, this has been cleaned. Like, nobody sat here without it being cleaned. One of the sad things that we had to do, we have a kitchen where we serve coffee all the time, and we have plates and silverware that I love for people to use because it's so much better to eat off of that than plastic. But and we always had snacks, like just little snacks that you could pick up and eat, and trail mix or whatever. We had fruit water all the time, just nice little things that just make it just a little bit nicer to be in an office. But so we totally closed the kitchen, and we have the rules for the kitchen, but we have funny signs up, like when you go into the kitchen, like you are supposed to either hand sanitize, wash, or put gloves on. And so we have a shared refrigerator for people to keep their lunches. And so there's a funny sign with, it's The Rock, I think. I can't really remember, but it's like, did you wash your hands? If not, go back. Stop what you're doing. So we tried to lighten the moment, but still, like, we've got to all work together here to make everybody feel safe. And I mean, it's a big difference in how it used to be at Forge, but everybody appreciates it and feels safe. And we do still serve coffee. We just serve it at the front desk, which is a minor inconvenience because sometimes we've stepped away or whatever, but we just pump it and give you your whatever creamers that you want. But
I like the personal service. I think we should keep that forever. So it sounds like you not only, so how did you even know to do all this stuff? Like, so I know you said Caitlin did she have to do research? Or I know you mentioned a little bit about being in a community of co-working spaces. Like, how did you gather that information to, of course, looking for hand sanitizer is something I think that came naturally for all of us. The stalking of hand sanitizer and Clorox wipes, which is still like the myth of 2020, they used to exist. But how did you know, like, about the decision to do things like cards, or how did you come to that information?
Well, so I mean, we did look a lot to the CDC, the guidelines. I know somebody who works at CBRE, which is a huge real estate company. So, like, leaning on those kind of people, like, what are the standards that you're putting in place in your offices? What do we need to be doing? And then the little card things, I'm trying to remember. I think we just tried to think of, we originally thought of like putting magnets on the table, so part of it is, what can we do that's not crazy expensive, but still is effective, and people will actually do it. So that's how the card thing came up, but which I think it's pretty great. Anyways, I don't think I came up with it. I don't think it was my idea, but I think it's pretty great. But yeah, I am a part of our industry organization, and then I'm part of a smaller group within that. And so we talked a lot about it, what other people were doing, what we should be doing, what ideas do you have? So it's really just a lot of information sharing and gathering, and yeah.
So here's the kind of, there are a couple questions where I want to think, out some, ask. And one of those is, with all the changes and just kind of seeing entrepreneurs and small business owners come through as members all the time, having those kind of common denominators of either I can work at home and I'm just like not focused, or I just need people around and interact with some people. Now that we are where we are, how do you feel like this type of change and this kind of awkwardness around, as it pertains to space in general, has affected entrepreneurs and small business owners?
Ooh, you went a little different direction than I thought you were going to go with that. I mean, I think the most difficult, so I am coming at this from a perspective of having kids at home. And so that's my perspective, is that, it's pretty difficult. There's just so much that has to happen where, and it's summer, and the kids they don't have there's literally nothing for them to do.
Yeah.
And so, it's pretty difficult, and you're not only trying to keep your business thriving, but at the same time, while you're doing that at your house, you're also trying to keep your family alive. And, it's just, and so it's really difficult. I think it's a really stressful time for people. And then I think people who, then there's people who are married and both of their spouses are home, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I don't know. I think if it was just me and Mary at home working, we would probably not get anything done, because we'd just be like, oh, this is great. Yeah. But it's not always that way. But then there's people who are at home and they're not married, they're single, they're by themselves, and it's so lonely. I think that's just got to be so hard. But
have you seen any of these kind of moods from any of the members about their wanting to come back or not coming back, or what their apprehensions are, or any of that?
Yeah. So, this is where I thought you were going with that question, but so the past several weeks, I think honestly, as we're getting close to school starting, and it's like, oh, we're still not going back to the office.
Right.
And now a lot of schools are virtual. Some schools are 2 days a week. It just looks really different. We are seeing different people come in, people who work for larger companies and the offices are closed, but they've got to have somewhere to work. Like, they cannot keep going on, because it's like, okay, we can do this for a little bit, but till the end of the year, that's just not an option. So we are seeing a big uptick in that, which is, we're so glad, we have all the space, we're so glad. Right. But for our members, a lot of our members are, if they have kids, we have seen this a lot, is that if they have kids and they were working in a co-working space, they were the flexible parent. And so they're a lot of times have to stay home. And then we've had members who are just still nervous about coming out. They've had family members we've had a couple members whose family members have passed away. And then there's people who, a handful of our members are just like, I can't be at home. I have to come back. And so very happy to apply to to follow all the guidelines as long as they have somewhere to go. So, I mean, I think our members have, people are coming back in a safe way and thankful that they have that, even if it's, for a couple hours a week or, a couple hours, a couple times a week. But I think it's also a great opportunity to provide. I mean, really, it's a perk that companies can provide their employees. Like, you can't come here, but maybe this will help. So.
Yeah, and which is a little different for the first audience of people which you had people from corporations and stuff like that, but not really who were necessarily working from home because they had an office to go to.
Right. Yeah, we've always had remote workers, but they weren't local companies.
Right.
And we've thought a lot about, okay, how can we tap into more remote workers? Like, how do we find these people? Because they're always great members.
So we should blame you for the pandemic? Did you ask
asking, how can we find these remote workers?
Now
they are always, it's our fault.
Yeah.
We were just trying to create more revenue.
Well, all roads lead to follow the money. That's what I always say.
That's right. But so now, we're getting local remote workers.
Which is a real thing. Local remote workers is a real thing right now because that's just kind of the case. And I think it's probably helpful for the bigger companies to say, hey, this is a cost. We don't necessarily have to take on an extra cleaning or whatever. They have the option to send people there and just, enter at their own risk. But I think it's interesting because that kind of speaks to, as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, and as a person who's doing anything, how you have to be ready to just pivot and evolve and say, oh, okay, there's an audience here. Oh, did not know that. Come on in. Let's figure out if this is going to work. And I think that we all have learned, not necessarily the hard way, but in some challenging ways, that pivoting and trying to evolve your ideas, or in your case, evolve an actual space, how it operates, what it can do. Because one of the things that, and I know a lot about Forge because I work at Forge. So I'm able to,
she works at Forge, but she also works for Forge.
Yeah, I'm like the face of Forge. I should have put my name as the face of Forge today. I may or may not do that a little later in the broadcast. But some of the things that you had done was there are some kind of spaces that people can pop into and meet, and it's like, okay, we can't have that open space just as a thing, so we're going to make it a space that people can use, but you have to sign up to use it. And just little things like that just kind of speak to, in a tangible form, I think, how people have to process, I have a thing, maybe it's not used the way I thought it would be, but I can still use it. How can I still use it? That's such a hard thing for people to figure out. And I think it's almost, no one thing is easier than the other, I don't think. But when you have physical space to work with, I think it becomes challenging when people are thinking about services or their art, or, it's like, okay, now what do I do with this? Because I can't just change it all of a sudden. It's challenging. So what advice would you give to anyone who is looking to invite people into a space right now? What would your advice be to them?
Well, just come to Forge. You're going to be safe. No.
Clarify that question. Into any space.
No, I'm kidding. I think it it's so hard. But I think you need to make sure that, I think doing things with people is also very tricky because people can feel very different about how we need to behave and interact and what needs to be done. And so, I think just having a conversation with the person that you're going to meet with, okay, what are you comfortable with? Would you rather be outside? Do you feel okay if we have masks on? Do you feel okay if you're somewhere and we're actually able to be socially distanced? Really make an effort not to that the people that you're with are not feeling uncomfortable, because the last thing you want to do is to make people feel uncomfortable and that you've put them in a situation where they are not, that's not how they want to be. So that would be, and also always giving people, would you rather just do it virtually? I think having that, being able to have that conversation with people, what are you comfortable with? And then I think if you are trying to take somebody to a new space, if it's for a business meeting or whatever, like trying to research that space to see what they've done and if they are taking measures and if they are what they are. Like, I mean, one of the things that we do, we didn't come up with this. This was somebody else said it, is but I think when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's amazing. I would have never thought of that. So now when you go into our conference rooms, we hand people a Ziploc bag with the TV remote, the Apple TV remote, all of the whiteboard markers and erasers, so that okay, I'm getting this. It's never been touched, or it's clean. I'm getting it in a bag that I know it's been cleaned. And when I'm done, I give it back, and so the next person will have it cleaned. Mm-hmm. So just making sure that the place where you are going are taking those kind of measures.
So I thought you were about to say, just because this is silly, I thought you were about to say, we give them the remote to the TV in the bag and they can just press the buttons through the bag. And then all we have to do is change the bag. I thought that's where that was going, but it didn't go there. But
well, you could do that. I didn't see that could have been even better. See, there's so many ways ways to be safe.
It could be like a snack bag size inside of the quart size. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's not why we're here. I really like the tip to communicate with people and ask what they're comfortable with, because I think, we see a lot of people still having events of some kind, or they still have things going on, but I don't know how often they're saying, here's what we're going to do. Can you tell us how you feel about this thing? How would you be comfortable doing this? And even, with the one-on-one or 2-on-2 meetings, small meetings, what's everybody comfortable with? That's really, really good, because I think sometimes we think we're doing a good job because it's what we're comfortable with.
Right.
But if we have not learned anything else in 2020, it's that people do not agree on what's comfortable and what is not comfortable. And that's okay, because everybody is entitled to feel how they feel, but you want to honor people's comfort levels and also find some kind of creative ideas, because it's not until sometimes you talk to your audience, talk to your customers, that you find thought processes that you never would have even considered. Because you're like, oh, that didn't bother me, so I didn't think I needed a solution to it. But apparently so, because 10 people have said the same thing. And that's just kind of the process of being an entrepreneur and being a small business owner. So I think that's really good advice. Also, let me pause here and say, if you all have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Y'all know I always have a lot of questions, so I love your questions. I will fill the time, though, if I have to. But while we wait for people to drop their questions in, that's great advice for people who are wanting to invite people into a space. What advice would you have for anyone who is working to or wants to build community during such a disconnected time? Any advice that you would have for them?
Yeah, I thought about this ahead of time. And I really thought about it just in terms of what we've done, because, I mean, it looks so different, but we still want people to feel connected. And so I think, and in light of everybody's kind of tired of Zoom, I think, like another team meeting where we can't really connect, the creativity is not there. And so I think, just trying to think outside of the box, different from what you would do in a normal office environment, where if you're a team leader and y'all would normally have your team meetings on Monday, and then maybe you'd have coffee afterward, or you would do a lunch once a month for your employees. Well, that's just not an option, but maybe there's something different you can do. Like you could buy them all lunch and go eat at a park, or, buy 2 people or small groups of people and go to the park. Or I just thought of that off the top of my head.
I would like to sign up for that. If anyone wants to buy lunch and meet me at a park and sit like over there.
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Now that's because I feel comfortable being outside, but I don't know if everybody feels so you want to see if people are comfortable. But but just trying to think outside of what you would normally do, and even think, especially if you're leading a team, thinking, okay, this is actually like, you don't want people to stop working and do something different. Like if we all left our houses and drove somewhere, or just like pulling people away from work, but that actually is a big part of your job, and is what's keeping your team motivated, is trying to build that connectivity and you probably aren't going to be able to get your whole team together, but what can you do in small chunks to get people together, or to let them know that you're thinking about? Like, one of the things that we did is we delivered to all of our members like just little things from Forge that are meaningless, but only Forge members would truly appreciate it. But we sent them boxes like, we know you're not here, but we want, like the mug that we want you to have a little bit of Forge at home. So it was a mug, because we have our mugs for people to get coffee from. Mints, like, it seems so silly, but these little mints are now a staple at Forge, and some M&Ms, because we used to have snacks, which those kind of snacks will probably never come back.
Right.
Yeah. So, just really trying to think outside of the box. What can I do to make my team feel part of something, feel encouraged, feel known, feel cared for? And it could look all different. Send, like, I don't know. There's so many things, but I mean, just really thinking outside of traditional office environment. Like, we could have a birthday cake for somebody's birthday, or, like just
Right.
office things that you would do. What can you just throw that aside and think, what can I do to speak into where my people are right now?
Rebecca sending some love for the care packages. I agree, Rebecca. And like you said, Kim, things that people may not see. And I think that's what made what you did with the packages very unique. And I want to make sure I kind of focus in on that, is that mints, though they seem really trivial, are just kind of a part of what happens when you walk through the door at Forge. And like M&Ms, we used to always stick all of our same hands, non-washed
with a scoop.
Yes, but still non-washed scooping hands, just handling stuff everywhere, all beastie.
We're all gonna have anxiety attacks when
I know. Just thinking about it. But just those little things made such a huge, it reminded, like you said, it gave you that kind of, it's along the lines of that, when I smell a candle, I can like imagine myself in my grandmother's kitchen kind of thing. Because that's kind of what it felt like. And especially the mug, because the mugs were new. Anyway, they weren't that old. And so I did wonder how you felt sending them to us away from Forge. I was like,
oh no, it was really great. I mean, it really is. Yeah, no, it was great. So we had fun, and Kelsey did a great job. And I mean, we also use those as opportunities to reiterate, like, I think making people feel safe, community, like reiterating the health and safety things that we did. We also used it as an opportunity to invite people to come. We had a member breakfast, but we limited it to 6 people, and we did it over like 4 days. And so, or I don't know how the numbers worked out, but it was very limited. It was also very different.
I mean, but it's a different world.
We were socially distanced. We had boxed breakfasts for people, so it provided a lot of communication, inviting people back, the health and safety standards. Like, we've missed you. Here's some of us that we want to give to you. So
it's safe to say that at the core of all of the changes and pivoting and the sticky stuff, the stuff that goes on the door handles and care packages, at the core of all of that is, it sounds like to me, is you all, as a business owner, having a really, really high priority on your audience's comfort level. It's like,
right,
we will do whatever is necessary, within realism,
right,
to make you feel comfortable leaving your home where it's safe, where things are clean because you clean them, but just really having that as a priority. And I think that that's such an important thing to understand for anybody in any industry, is that, we build our businesses for us, but we don't really build them for us. We build them for the communities that we serve. We build them for the clients, the audiences, the people who we serve. And so it has to be that even in time of crisis, that the priority is what's going to make you comfortable. If that means I have to do something that maybe I don't necessarily want to do, like take all this beautiful seating and take some of it out and space it apart, like, that's going to break my heart a little, because I would not have bought all of this. I would have just bought half if I only knew I needed half, right? So it's like, but at the core of any of those decisions seems to be, what do we have to do to make our community, our audience, people who may, now there's this tug of war with, do I want to go and co-work, just like there is for events? Do I want to go to this event? But how can I make sure that I'm making it as comfortable as possible, trying to cover as many bases as I can? And I think that that's the key. And I hope that's what people have heard you saying kind of over and over, but in different aspects. We communicated so that people felt comfortable. We cleaned and deep cleaned and did all this so that people felt comfortable. We changed how we use the space so that people felt comfortable, because without them feeling comfortable, they're not going to.
Yeah.
And that can be a little challenging as a business owner. And it's challenging even as a member, as a person on the other side, you know, to decide. It feels like a life or death decision to say, I'm going to leave my house, you know, for anything, let alone going somewhere where I don't know where people have been. I don't know, you know, I don't trust people right now, like, you know, because I just don't know their level of care for what they're doing. So it makes it a lot more difficult to say, I'm going to leave my 4-year-old and my husband at home, and I'm going to go to this other space with other people who have different beliefs, maybe. And so it sounds like at the core of all of that is we want our audience and our members, our community to feel comfortable. We want them to stay connected. And I think that that's key for anyone in any industry. All right, guys, I don't see any other, I don't know if you saw Stanley.
I did. It's really sad. I'm sorry, Stanley.
Yeah.
Next time you're in, Kelsey will get you some M&Ms and some mints, and you don't have to tell your kids or your wife.
Yeah, we're going to do it anyway because he's a good husband.
I know, he shared anyway.
Everything. So just before we wrap up, I just want to make sure you all know that, of course, with Create Birmingham, when we have these things, any of the events that we have going on, all of them right now are virtual. We're not in a place where we're asking anyone to really go anywhere just yet. But you can get all the details on createbirmingham.org/events. And then Kim is going to tell you where you can find Forge.
Yeah, we're at workatforge.com. If you're feeling like, okay, I want to check this out to see if I feel safe, like we do have a lot of people who just come to see if they would feel safe, you can book a tour on every page of our website. You can also follow us along on Instagram. We're Work at Forge. Facebook, Work at Forge. LinkedIn is Forge. But really on Instagram, Kelsey does a great job of just like letting you know what's going on, what that we're open, you know, all the different services that we have. If we are hosting, I mean, we're not doing in-person things besides for our members, if we're doing small things. But if we, small things. But yeah, it's all there. So definitely check us out.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. And I do hope if anybody that is watching the replay, thank you for watching. And also, Kim, thank you so much for your time and for all the hard work you have put in to, because that's leadership, Kim. It's what it is. It's leadership and how to like make people comfortable and, invest, because I know that stuff on the door handle costs money. So I appreciate that as a member and just as a member of society, not let alone a member of Forge, which is as a citizen of the world, that there are people out there who actually care enough to put the things in place and take special care like it's their own home. And I feel like you do that. So I appreciate that. And I thank you for your time and energy and loveliness.
Yeah. I'm going to take a quick picture.
Oh, see, you know what's funny, y'all? She could do this afterwards, but I'm going to let her take it while we're live. Rebecca, I miss you too. So I know. Good to see you too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will sign off and take our picture.
And I've never used this platform.
Yeah, we're learning new things over it. Listen, this is a year of learning. We're all going to learn some new stuff this year. All right, well, everyone, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys so much.